Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This pen ponderings video is going to be on these two pens from Everyday Karas. And so Everyday Karas is a new kind of branch of Karas Customs, which is one of the better known machined pen makers here in the USA. And so Everyday Karas is a budget-friendly, a more budget-oriented offering from Karas Customs. And so they've done a bunch of different versions of this basic rollerball pen. And they've also done some other EDC stuff, but I have only had their pens so far. And I have actually had a good number of them, or at least gotten to check out a good number of them, because these are very inexpensive compared to the vast majority of other USA-made machined pens. So right off the bat, I'll say that these raw aluminum, plain aluminum models are $29 shipped. So for under $30, you're getting a fully made in the USA machined pen that actually is a really, really nice design also. So it's really kind of a price point that blows everything else out of the water. Now, you know, a lot of other USA made machine pens are in titanium and maybe have different mechanisms and such, but even still, it's just kind of in its own price range. There's nothing else that I'm aware of in the same category. So that really appealed to me because, you know, some of these pens that people really like, Otmog and things like that, are well over $100, over $200, $300, things like that. It's just kind of not in the plan here for me right now to be buying pens that are that expensive. But $29 shipped, I can definitely do, and can really enjoy the pen at that price range. Now, this one was a little more expensive. I believe this one was about $50, but that's because it is a special model, special version that has this coating. So a little bit different, but I wanted this one because I wanted an orange and black pen. So they call these the rollerball pens. I will say that they don't technically come with a rollerball refill. They come with a gel refill, but they're made to fit the classic Pilot G2 refill. So that's what I have in this one here. It's not what I have in this one, and I'll talk about that. But I do have a Pilot G2 refill in this, and this is a very compact, short pen for holding a full-size Pilot G2 refill. So I want to show you some comparisons. So I've got my kind of bag of pens here, and I'm going to show you the Right Choice Paint Company Billet Click pen. You can see that it's a little longer. Now it is also, I think, really nicely short for being a click pen, but it is longer. And then here is a Honey Badger Arsenal. This one is made for the Pilot G2. You can see that it's longer. Now I don't have a standard size Pilot G2 size tactile turn currently, but I will show you a tactile turn switch in the short size. And so this takes a Parker refill, and you can see that it's longer than the basic. I did forget to mention, forgot to mention that this is the basic 002. This is the basic 004, technically the All Hallows Eve version. And they've done a bunch of them. They've done like 8, I think, so far. But this is the 002, and it's my favorite of the designs so far. It's nice and minimalistic. But, you know, very compact for the size of the refill. And I think really the only pen that I'm aware of that takes a full-size G2 style refill that's smaller is this. This is the Uniball 1P. I think it's 1P. But it is incredibly small. It's actually basically as small as it possibly can be while holding that size refill, because the refill goes all the way up to the tip of the, what I believe is called the knock. So, you know, this is pretty close to as small as a bolt action pen that takes a Pilot G2 refill can get. And I do appreciate that because, you know, sometimes they can get a little bit long. You know, I'll kind of mention offhand here that if you are looking for a Honey Badger Arsenal, you can use my code Knife Thoughts and get a discount, 10% off. But back to the actual topic of the video here. These are really compact, and the reason for that is because of how this bolt is. So you can see there's no cap, there's no top to unscrew like there are on a lot of those other machined pens that I showed there. And so how this works is, instead of unscrewing a cap, you unscrew the bolt itself and hopefully don't lose it. And then I highly recommend you hold this down as you do that, because the spring is pressing directly onto this, which is Delrin. And so that's really the only thing that I kind of would change about this. Is I'd love it if this was also aluminum or some kind of metal. Being Delrin, I don't think that it's actually going to wear out or anything like that, and you can buy replacements. In fact, I bought a backup set of the bolt and this thing just to have one. They're not that expensive from Everyday Caras, but just for the kind of satisfaction of it being all metal, I'd love it if this was metal. But the other thing is that some of those really expensive pens that I mentioned also use Delrin kind of actions, or whatever you want to call them. So, even if you spend $300, you might get a Delrin piece in your pen. But then the refill is right there. And so you've got your refill, and then there's the spring in there, and you drop it right in, and it's really easy to put back in. What you do, just line up the hole that has the recess on that Delrin with the top of the bolt path, and screw it right in. It's easy to screw in. You can just do it with, finger tight, and it's good to go. And I really like the bolt on this too. I like the path. It's a J, but it is in this kind of leftward direction, and I do think that I prefer that over the right direction, like what tactile turn bolt action pens are. So I do like this. It's maybe slightly less intuitive than the Right Choice Paint Company checkmark left direction bolt. This one I think is the most intuitive bolt action that I have had. But this one is really nice, and even with no cap and stuff, it's got great sounds. It's very satisfying, if you want to call it that, and great action. It just snaps open and closed with no issues. You can see the tip sticks out relatively well here, more than maybe on some pens, and it's going to write great too. I like the thickness of this barrel, particularly this 002. I like that it has these kind of tactile turn-esque machinings that you can get a good grip on, and it's a nice thick size, so it won't tire your hands out quite as much as something that's a little thinner. And then it's got also a nice clip. It's just a nice, simple, screwed on clip, 2 screws, so it's going to stay nice and solid. I've never had any issues with these clips, and nice, straightforward clip. I really like it. So a lot going for it, honestly, and especially for that price. $29 shipped, you really can't beat. Like I said, I have had several of these go through my hands. I have given 6 of them away, actually. Not all these models, actually. I think all, not these models. Maybe one of them was an 004. But I've given a bunch of them away just because they're in a reasonable price range that you can give them away, even if someone's not like a pen enthusiast, and I think people can appreciate them. So I have enjoyed giving them away also. But coming to this one here, so as you can see, this has the coating, the All Hallows Eve special edition coating. This darkness here is just from me rattling it around with other pens. It will wash off. I'll bet just if I rub it here, you can see it comes off easily. This coating has actually lasted really nicely. I'm not really like gentle with my pens. I just throw them in a bag. So I've been really happy with that. But this actually has a Uniball 207. And so the Uniball 207 is slightly longer of a refill than the Pilot G2, I believe. So you can see it does stick out a little bit more. But I really like Uniball's products in general. I think that they're really nice. And particularly this orange is just an incredible orange. I want to show here on my trusty composition book, Walmart special. So this orange is really wonderful. I mean, it's one of the great things. There's so many refills out there. Hopefully you can see it well. So many refills out there that you can get a refill to match your pen if you want to. And so I like it a lot. I think that that's a great refill. I'm looking forward. I'm going to be trying the Zento refill from Uniball. And then another thing is that you can also put Jetstream refills in these. So I'll show you that real quick here before wrapping this up. Let's see, which of these do I have a Jetstream refill in? Not that one. So I'm stealing a Jetstream refill from the Machine Era Field Bolt. This is a great pen, can hold these Jetstreams without modification. Also, now these Jetstreams are also longer than the Pilot G2. So, you know, sometimes you will have to cut them off a little bit, but usually, at least when I've done it before, they have worked in these Basics. So I'll show you real quick here that if you take out the Pilot G2, throw in your Jetstream, put your bolt back in, and you know, I'm kind of leaving this in here just to show that it's pretty straightforward. Even while I'm talking, I can get this in and it's good to go. And you can use a Jetstream. Now, you can see that that sticks out much more. If that's an issue for you, you can cut it off, right? But it's not really an issue for me. And if you undo it here, you can see the tip is covered. So you're not gonna like write on yourself with it like that. So if you don't mind it sticking out more, there you go. You can use a Jetstream. And why does that matter? Well, the Jetstream refill, this Jetstream refill, is an oil-based ink, a ballpoint ink. And so that means you can use it on Write in the Rain paper, on receipt paper, generally on smoother surfaces that you can't really use gel refills on. And I do appreciate that. I think that these 1.0 Jetstreams are a little too big and therefore slippery for me, so I'm going to try some of the smaller tipped ones. But I do appreciate ballpoint oil-based refills for their more versatile, you know, writing capabilities. So I think that that's a great thing also here. You've got a lot of refill options. So I think these are great. I plan to get more, to be honest. Next time they come out with a design that I really like, I'll probably pick it up. They have a good rewards program too. You can get points. So I have some points that I'm looking forward to using. And I recommend them if you want an inexpensive, USA-made, fully machined bolt action pen. I think that these are a great option. $29 shipped, and you've got a good, usable, enjoyable pen. So these are the Everyday Kara's basic rollerball pens, bolt action pens, the 002 and the 004 All Hallows Eve. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you check out the other videos in my pen ponderings playlist. I am building it out as I go here. And also check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on pens, knives, and other EDC related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.